How were you able to navigate the world of studying abroad as a person with disability, and you were able to use all of the things that were available to you to your advantage?
It's really being intentional about the experience, about your time there, and doing what you have to do to be able to participate.
And when you go seek studies, further studies outside of the shores of Nigeria or Africa, look out for opportunities to volunteer on campus.
Yeah.
What other things are you interested in? Look out for those things. Participate. And the more you engage with people, the more you come across other things that are in the system that you are not aware of.
Something about us being Africans, we have a unique way of solving problems that's entirely different from our problems solved anywhere else in the world. You should be able to, you should be perceptive to identify some of those problems that you can solve using your local indigenous knowledge and apply them and see if they work. You have to want it bad enough to be insane enough to do some of those things.
There are a lot of opportunities that are hidden that you don't know of. I don't think I changed myself at all. I made the most of every single day I was on campus, regardless of disability.
This is TINE Africa Podcast. The new sound of international education in Africa.
This episode is proudly supported by University of Sussex.
Many times when students are seeking to study overseas, they think about many things. They think about affordability. They think about the ease of making payments. Sometimes they think about, potentially traveling with family members. They think about career prospects. They think about post-study opportunities. But sometimes we ignore some of the major things that we need to think about in terms of experience on campus, in terms of the opportunities that are available to us, in terms of how to make the most of the experience that we are having while studying in a country different from ours. Today on TINE Africa Podcast, we will be talking about the hidden gems in the international education space, meaning what are those things that you can take advantage of, the opportunities that are available to you that you probably are not thinking of, that can make the experience even holistic and more beneficial to you on a grand scheme of things. My name is Louis Adekola, and I am the regular host on TINE Africa Podcast, where we talk about everything that has to do with international education in the continent of Africa. Today, I am joined by two amazing guests, and these are my friends, people that I've known for many years, people that I've had the opportunity of sharing, some memorable times with, when we were, you know about this as the conversation goes on. And I'm just going to go on straight to introducing them to you right now, and then we'll get the conversation started. Right next to me is my G, my personal person, Ejiro Sharon Okotie. She is, on this episode, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. If I try to introduce them, I'm going to say a lot of things and you'll be wondering if I actually gave birth to them. I didn't. Well, anyway, Ejiro, how are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you, Louis.
It is so good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Most delighted to be here.
Okay. Anyway, one thing that I'll say about Ejiro, number one, is that myself and Ejiro studied in the same university in the UK at the same time. We'll come back more about that later. And the second person that I have here is someone that I've known before I went to study abroad, before he went to study abroad. We've done a lot of work together in the development space and everything, but more about that later. His name is David Owumi. David, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. So good to be here.
So good to have you here as well.
Sure.
Let's get started. Tell us about yourself. So let's start with you, Ejiro. Tell us about yourself, your background, and how you went to study abroad. And okay, do it this way. A little about yourself, who you are, what you do now, and one memorable experience that you had while you were studying abroad, both of you. So let's start with you, Ejiro. Ladies first.
Okay. Thank you, Louis. My name is Ejiro Okotie, and I do quite a lot of things. So I am a development professional. I work as a gender expert focusing on areas of governance, sexuality, and I also work as a marriage and family sex therapist. I lead a nonprofit, an organization of persons with disabilities, and I am a woman with a disability. One of the memorable experiences I had studying abroad, at least the one that comes to mind the most, was our journey to the
Devil's Dyke.
God, that experience, oh my God, like we just wandered into a valley for 4 hours. We climbed 100 stairs.
Yes.
God,
That was one of my most memorable experiences in my life so far.
the cows.
Oh my God, the cows are coming.
Oh my God, that was a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it was at the time, some part of it was not funny. You know, by the time it was getting dark, and they said, "Oh, you know, you must not, nightfall must not meet you
there
in the valley." So, I mean, at some point, we started praying and stuff.
And we were actually going back because we had descended first. It was
Yeah.
fun. It was like
Really
descending.
fun
It was
descending.
so fun. But then coming back
actually-
up,
And
we
it
were
was
crawling,
no Uber.
literally crawling, and it was
found
damp.
Uber. We had to. Oh my God, it was terrible. But I enjoyed the experience
Yeah.
for different reasons. One was, you know, being able to go on that kind of adventure with my colleagues.
Yeah.
You know, given some of the limitations that I felt I had. You know, and then just being out there, I felt like I was doing things that I would ordinarily not do.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that made that experience really memorable for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, if you hadn't said that, I would have talked about it because there is no way I can think about my life and not think about that experience. I'm telling you.
I feel I'm missing out on that.
Yeah, you did.
You should go to the devil.
You should definitely.
I'm not going.
We went with our friends from Tanzania, from Ghana, from like different countries, and we were still like we were chilling. You know, at a point we were just going with we had speakers with us on blasting and singing, and then all of a sudden there was this
narrow path.
narrow path with roses by the sides, and the cows were running
Right
towards
behind
us. And then we were running. We thought we were running away from the cows, not knowing we were running to where the
dead
cows
end.
were going. And they kept chasing us until we got to a point like, we're going to stay here. And they were like, yeah, we're coming there as well.
Can't start together. So they're praying like what? Because no way out. We are the dead end.
Exactly. All right. So,
That's cool.
David, over to you. Tell us about yourself, your background, and your experience as well.
Oh, great. So good to be here. So my name is David, as you know. I'm currently director of Salt House. So basically, we're a non-profit.
Yeah.
And we work with the government as well as private sector. I think the best experience I had in the UK was probably when I got the royal invitation to meet the king. For my contribution in development. I didn't have cows chasing me down.
Yours was posh.
Yeah, but that was a great experience for me because that was just more or less like the validation I need to show that service was probably the best way to live, if that makes sense. And having the work that you've done over the years, role played, and you have the opportunity to share your story, where you're coming from, and see that there are loads of opportunities ahead of you. I think that was taken.
Excellent.
So yeah, well, that's about it.
Excellent. Thank you both for sharing that. And I love how we started this conversation on that note, because the reason why we thought about this episode is really to shed some light to some of those things that happens while you're studying abroad that we don't usually think about, we don't talk about enough. And people think that, when you're going abroad to study, you're going to be in the classroom all the time, you're going to do seminars, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And sometimes we don't pay attention to all those minor things. No, they're not minor, but they are the things that you remember the most.
Yeah.
You remember your classroom experience, you remember your classmates, but those things that you actually did. For example, I saw your photo a lot of times when you were with the king and you still had this big afro at the time.
I'm growing it back.
Okay. And you met with the king and all of that. And I thought that would usually, be an experience that we can always reflect on. And you were just talking about opportunities. I want to let us start with that conversation around opportunities. What are some of the opportunities that you think that African students, and I want us to focus on African students now, that African students often overlook when they are studying abroad? And this is a bit outside of I'll start with you, David. What are some of the opportunities that you think are available to students on campus that they usually overlook while they are studying?
That's great. I think the very first thing I would like to bring everyone's attention to is what I'm really passionate about, and that's social entrepreneurship. So there's something about us being Africans. We have a unique way of solving problems that's entirely different from our problems solved anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And some of these problems are global problems, to be very honest with you. And so when you have the opportunity to be in the UK where you're exposed to, theories, you should be able to, you should be perceptive to identify some of those problems that you can solve using your local indigenous knowledge and apply them and see if they work. And I think that's one thing that really shaped my experience, studying in the UK, is the fact that I was able to take some of those local strategies for solving problems and apply them to local problems, but in a different setting in the city where I lived. So that's basically one thing. Also, I think it's the opportunity you have to network with people from different parts of the world.
Networking.
It's oftentimes it's very easy for you to get carried away by trying to pay your bills and or studying, and then you miss out on the part of getting to share ideas with other intellectuals who are from different parts of the world. Those are actually my top two. I would not exhaust them. Ejiro has a lot to say.
I think that was really good. I like what you said about self-discovery, finding yourself, in the course of studying, as well as bringing your knowledge, the knowledge that you come with to fore while you're studying abroad. And then, of course, the networking opportunities as well. I want to ask Ejiro that same question, but I want you to look at it from the lens of person with disability, because there are sometimes that people look at themselves in a certain way, and they travel abroad, they feel a sense of restriction, in the course of that process. How were you able to navigate the world of studying abroad as a person with disability, and you were able to use all of the things that were available to you to your advantage?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's a good question. So I think that it actually starts from your mind. Yeah. Because for me, I got to the University of Sussex a week before other students resumed. Yeah. And getting on campus, I started to ask myself, really, how did I arrive here? Like, how am I going to survive? I didn't go with any aid. I went by myself. I didn't know anybody there, but there was one thing I knew, that I needed to make the most of the system. So first things first, you have disability support units that provides the basic access needs that you may have. So I had a mobility orientation trainer, I had a sighted guide, all that were in the system to help the academic aspect of things. But then I had to be intentional about the non-academic aspect of things. And, David, earlier on, we talked about networking. I think that's one huge opportunity that you have where, in a space of 11 months, you have people from all over the world, more or less, in one pot, in one class, sharing ideas, and you picking little from all around, whilst you're also bringing your own ideas to bear. So intentionality was key for me. I know that they used to have these ideas pub quiz, and even at that first 2 months where I didn't have anybody, I quickly started to ask for help, amongst my friends. And I think that also helped my classmates to engage deeper with me, because they could come to pick me from my room to go for those pub quizzes and all that things that were going on campus, or volunteering. So it's really being intentional about the experience, about your time there, and doing what you have to do to be able to participate. So I think that those are really some of the strategies that I use to leverage. And I don't think I changed myself at all. I made the most of every single day I was on campus, regardless of disability.
Yeah.
I
agree. I mean, I totally agree with what you said, Ejiro, because you inspire me a lot, with the things that you do and how you do the things you do.
Yeah.
Because I remember then you literally were in a room by yourself, and some of us are in room and we have flatmates and we're still struggling to survive because we studied into the pandemic as well.
Yeah.
And that was a tough time that, people were trying to navigate, but you did a lot of amazing things. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're here today. So thank you for, inspiring us by your being.
Yeah.
David, I want to ask you this question around discovering the opportunities, because it's very easy for us to talk about opportunities that are available. Ejiro talked about the supports, the academic support, the non-academic support that are available. Yeah. But how does one really discover the opportunities that are available? Because, the ones that you'll be very familiar with would be your direct classroom, your direct department, and all of that. But there are so many more. I probably will just give a little. Universities have international student office. They have careers and employability. They have so many different departments. How do you? And apart from that, there are also religious organizations. All of those. How do you think students can identify the opportunities and go for it?
That's a deep question,
I guess.
I was going to respond, how many thousand words? All right. So typically, I think I would start from within this learning environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It begins with you finding out what you're interested in. To be very honest with you, because people travel, seek international studies for different reasons. Let's put that on the table.
Yeah.
For some persons, it's for migration reasons. For some other individuals, it's to learn and then return back home. For some others, they want to expose themselves. So there's this, I have a theory that I work with. It's called idea sexing.
Sorry, say again?
Idea sex.
Idea sex?
Yeah, or idea sexing. And basically what idea sexing means is you're exposing yourself to so many realities, so much knowledge, such that when you want to solve a problem, you're able to harness, different bits and pieces from these different, realities. And so when I got to the UK, the very first thing I did was to just do that. So I was not limited to, although I came from the development space, but I got into tech. I participated in quite a number of tech competitions, hackathons on campus, sought out entrepreneurship clubs. I also founded an entrepreneurship club, as a matter of fact.
While you were on campus?
Yeah, while I was on campus, yeah. So we did not have a student entrepreneurship club at the university. And so I founded the Bradford Entrepreneurship Club. And that was also an opportunity for me to also meet more students from all around the world, share ideas, and sort of like prototype them.
Yeah.
See if it works. So yeah, just it all has to do with your interest and then you seeking out those opportunities. And I would also add this on campus. Volunteering is something that we don't really leverage on. Maybe in Nigeria, I'm not so sure if volunteering is considered work experience. I'll just leave that on the table in the UK. So, and they take it seriously.
Yeah.
So I think one advice I would give to students, or which I give to students, is when you go seek studies, further studies outside of the shores of Nigeria or Africa, look out for opportunities to volunteer on campus.
Yeah,
there are quite a number of events going on. Just write to the organizer. Oh, I'd like to volunteer XYZ number of hours. I can do this, I can do that, and that way you see how your existing skill set fit into the new climb. So that's within campus.
Yeah.
Then outside campus, I always projected myself, beyond my certificate or my degree, if that makes sense. Yeah. Even while I was a student, I was participating in some hackathons, and I'll share a story real quick if you would permit me to. So we had this competition called Northern Max Accelerator program. So I was a student when I applied for it. It was sponsored by the city of Bradford, the Bradford Council, as well as some other, local councils in the region. So I put in an application for an idea that I sort of like piloted through the Bradford Entrepreneurship Club. I got to the final phase and they sent me a rejection email saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, we would not accept you into this program. We have just 15 slots and blah, blah." And so I wrote back to them and I said, can you please state exactly where I fall short?
Getting feedback.
Yeah, feedback. And all they said was, "Oh, one of the business advisors felt like you were not qualified for it."
Wow.
And so I wrote back to them and I told them, I'm a student of the University of Bradford, first of all. I don't know where that confidence came from. But I told them that, I did not come up with this idea out of the blues. It's something that we had piloted from, student groups and all of that. And it sort of works. So I don't see why I'm not fit for it.
Yeah.
Eventually, to cut the long story short,
Yeah.
they were like, "Okay, we'll just accept you as the 16th person. Just sit somewhere in the room." And I went on to win that competition.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I went on to win that. And being the only brown-skinned person, a migrant in the room.
I would say you were black. I'm so sorry.
I'm not black.
I'm so sorry.
What do you were black? You're wearing black.
You're not going to have me skin color.
But yeah, and that was sort of like a confidence shift for me because having won that, it opened doors.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to meet more people. I got appointed as advisor to the mayor of West Yorkshire on climate, energy, and environment. But all of that comes back to me being as a student, me looking beyond my degree. Like, oh, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And I saw opportunities, came up with ideas.
Yeah.
I saw opportunities to experiment those ideas and it worked. And I thought I could put it out there to the world.
Excellent.
And yeah, it paved ways.
Excellent.
So if I'm to add to that, I think one of the things that I did, there's something called the A to Z directory on Sussex website.
Yes.
And I think a lot of schools have that. As a student, before you go to that school, settle down and read every alphabet till the end, because I bet you find so many. There are a lot of opportunities that are hidden that you don't know of. For instance, I stumbled on an accommodation discount. I had £80 discount monthly on my accommodation.
Wow.
That nobody told me about. Wow. I stumbled on it. And there's so many other things. I got a sports bursary that nobody told me about. I stumbled on it. So you just have to take time to read those things. And as he said, there's also the part of volunteering. I know I volunteered for Role Models Club in Sussex at the time as well. That took me out of campus. And I think also it's looking outside of student spaces, not only focusing on student space. So you want to maybe go to church or your religious institution, for instance. Don't only target the student services. You go to the mainstream, because that way you're able to meet more people that are not students, and that opens you up to more opportunities, and again, it brings us back to what he talked about, the interest. What other things are you interested in? Look out for those things. Participate. And the more you engage with people, the more you come across other things that are in the system that you are not aware of.
Yeah.
And just to add to that, which I think we underestimate the power of social media.
Yeah.
So one while you were speaking, one thing that came back to mind was, I remember very well, I had to search for organizations that were doing those things I was interested in. And on LinkedIn, you can go to a company profile and then swipe to people. So I connected with as many persons as possible. Not because I wanted to have an exchange with them, like chat with them, but so that if they post anything,
you can see.
I can see it.
Yeah.
And that's how I actually got access to some opportunities. I just say I apply, as a student.
Yeah.
And
I agree. And I think that what you've both talked about is very important. Number one, that aspect of doing personal research. Ejiro was talking of the A to Z and finding opportunities. And what you just use that word that ties perfectly back to the topic of this conversation, which is unlocking the hidden gems. You know, there are many hidden gems, you know, like you said, getting accommodation discount. In my case, I applied for a French course. I did it for free, you know, while I was studying. And apart from that, I was part, like you, David, I was part of the Startup Sussex, you know, became one of the finalists, got some money towards my project, incubated my idea as well while I was on campus. And I think these are some of the things that people actually don't take advantage of. Ejiro, I want to ask you a question. You were a funded student. You were a scholarship student.
Yeah.
How do you think, because there are sometimes that students see opportunities and they screen themselves out based on the fact that, oh, I can't do this because I was a funded student. How were you able to navigate that world of which opportunity are meant for you? Which opportunity do you want to go for? And how do you know which one to let go?
Just ask.
Just
ask. So you reach out and ask, this and this, I found this. Is this something that I'm eligible for?
Yeah.
And then they tell you, oh, yeah, you can. Oh, no, you can't. You know, for instance, I had gotten extra funding from Snowden for equipment. And now Sussex, they did an accessibility needs assessment for me. And there was part of it was to get equipment, right? So I had other equipment that I hadn't gotten. I reached out to them. Oh, I saw that you could, there's also a room for you to provide me with extra. And they said, oh, no, because you already have this, we would not be able to fund you. We will not be able to give you this funding, because we'll have to leave it for other students that have not gotten any funding at all. Yeah. So I think you have to ask. The same thing with the Chevening scholarship program. There were certain things that they said, oh, when you get on campus, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this, we'll do that. And, you know, I kept writing, am I supposed to have that? And they reply me, oh, no, this is not applicable to you because X, Y, Z. So I think it's just ask before you say, I'm not eligible.
Yeah.
Just ask.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Exactly. I was going to say that one of the things or mantras that I love and I always work with is you never try, you never know.
You never try, you never know.
You never try, you never know. There are sometimes that all you need to move from one step from point A to point B is just asking that question, taking that step. And because if you never try it, you never know.
You never know. True.
You know? Now, David, on the flip side of it, you were a self-funded student, right? And many times people want to access opportunity. They want to attend events. They want to network with people. But because they are self-funded students, they still need to work part-time. You know, in some cases, people have to work part-time. They still have to do these things. How would you describe that process of finding that balance, finding balance between the quest to, you know, do part-time work to sustain yourself while you're living on campus and ensuring that opportunities don't pass you by?
You can see I'm smiling already.
Yeah.
Because it was crazy. And why did I say that? So I'll tell this story. While I was a student, I think about the first job I did, I worked at Sainsbury's. Okay. Right, as a replenishment assistant. So basically, what it means simply is we just stock this year. Yeah. Right. But alongside that, I also volunteered as a fundraising lead for Hope for Justice. That's a anti-modern slavery charity in Manchester. Do you know what I would do? I'd have an event, and as part of my role, I would go to like the People's History Museum in Manchester, go to the University of Manchester to pitch, to raise funds for the non-governmental organization. I would go to work at night with my well-tailored suits in my bag. And right after work, I would go to the train station, change at the train station, wash my face, have my mouthwash, and I'm off to Manchester. And there are days when I would have to, from Manchester, I'd have to go back to work. I won't get back home. I would have to go back to work. So at the train station, I changed back to my uniform, my workwear, and head to work. And it was a stretch. It was insane. Now, why am I saying that? There are two. I want you to say from two sides. One, you have to want it bad enough to be insane enough to do some of those things.
True.
Right? But on the other side of it, on the flip side of it, if you have things well planned out, probably it would not be that challenging. To be very honest with you, it was not well planned, and which is why we always recommend that if you're going abroad to study, try as much as possible to have like a source of funding. It's really important because it sort of does not rob you off of time, which is your most valuable resource. So that I didn't have a lot of that, but I was able to make things work.
I think one of the things that I actually what you said is just very perfect, because you said to have source of funding, to have sufficient funding even before you travel, so you don't deny yourself, because at the end of the day, no matter how much thousands of pounds or dollars or whatever that you're paying in that country, it is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It already covers a lot of these things that we're talking about. Your access to the medical center, your access to the library, your access to careers and employability, access to all these different centers and offices and hubs and everything is already part of what you're paying for. So if you don't take advantage of those things, you're shortchanging yourself. That's exactly what it is. And you realize that most of the time, African students, and I'm saying this because it was what we experienced in the first term when we resumed back after the first term break, the spring when we resumed for the spring term, and our classmates were coming to class. I'm like, oh, I was in Hague, I was in this and that. And like, oh, I went to France. I spent the weekend this.
And you were working full time.
We Nigerians, working full time. And afterwards, we're looking at ourselves like, what is going on? And this one's like, I do care work.
My days.
It's good because we're getting those work experience, we're doing all those things, but by the time the conversations were already now starting in the spring term, a lot of people had come back with more experience. Some people had gone, spent 1 week at the UN, or they had gone to do something, but we were really engrossed. I mean, I wasn't working so hard, but a lot of people were engrossed in that, and I think that is one of the things that we need to really bear in mind. Now,
sometimes it's not just work, it's also that you're so focused on I don't want to fail. So you're spending the entire time just trying to read up, to bury your head in those books, and
time that you don't disappoint your ancestors.
And just to add to that, I think it depends on what you want. So after I told you I worked as a replenishment assistant, after I did that for a while, I knew I needed more time to pursue other opportunities. So I started looking out for sort of like remote or
roles.
Formal roles. And so I was privileged enough to have an opportunity to work for the university as an editorial assistant. So they have like an academic journal. And so that gave me the opportunity to work remotely. I could work any time of the day. Right?
So that I think internships, placements, all those are really important as well, and I like that you touched on it. So without spending too much time on that one, I want us to speak around conferences, seminars, all those other ones. Like how important are those ones?
So important.
Definitely, I'm going to let you start with that. Seminars, conferences, memberships. I'll just let you speak to that. How important, and how can students really navigate that, finding the right ones to join and taking advantage of those opportunities as well?
So I should start. Right?
Yes, please.
So I think that we talked heavily about networking, which is one of the very important things that you get from studying abroad. You get to meet people from different countries. I was privileged to have my own institution organize conferences like almost every other week on different subjects. So you have to be intentional about what interests you and participate. So you will have all those conferences in the IDS conference room and all that, and you could go. And I mean, I traveled even outside of Sussex.
You went to Manchester by yourself?
I went to Oxford.
I was having palpitations. And at a point, she was unreachable. Like, that number was all going through.
I went all the way to Oxford, for a conference because I think it's important. And just as we said, stepping away from just student spaces and going into mainstream spaces, because then you're able to now meet a wider range of people or a broader range of people, expertise. You can share your ideas, you can meet more people and learn more. So it cannot be overemphasized. That's what I would say, and I think that students really have to kind of understand and be intentional about joining those things. We were part of our own Nigerian
Sussex Nigeria Society.
There's a Nigeria Society. They used to do some of those black something week.
Yeah,
we would go
One
for
World
those
Week,
One World
even
Week,
the different different continents or not like regions. Like
Regions
East
would
Africa
have
events,
their events, and all that. And I would just I had friends from Kenya, and I would just go for those things because, again, it helps you to see the world from other lenses, in such short time. So it's really, really important. Very, very important.
So, David, as you answer that question, because I also want to get your sense in terms of conferences and seminars. And before you went to Bradford, we've done a lot of like work together. How were you able to leverage? Now, Salt House, you started before you went to study. Now you're back. You're still running it. How has all these different opportunities like seminars and conferences and associations that you joined fed back to the work that you were already doing and now that you're doing? Because I see that you're doing it at a different level. That's
the different level. That's what changed.
That's the worst change. No, but how? Because sometimes you see when we look at people, sometimes people look at us and say, oh, this person is now wealthy, oh, this person now knows this person, but they don't understand the process. They don't understand the how between that point A that they were and the point B. And the discussion that we're having now is about that how. So that's all I want to hear.
I'm not wealthy yet though, but but I think at the end of the day, you set higher standards for yourselves. If you have an opportunity to go for conferences like Ejiro rightly said, you see how things are done. For a very long time, when we started at Salt House, then most of our events were like free events. We have conferences and they're like free conferences. But then you travel and you find out that, whoa, people literally pay to attend conferences.
Sometimes they're not as solid as
what you've been running for free. And so that also, you also find out that it gives your sort of like your brand or the organization's brand some level of credibility, doing that people are able to pay, then they are rest assured that you would get tremendous value from it. So that's one thing. I think another thing which is we often don't talk about, it's the people you meet. You have more access to people who are more skilled, more experienced in the field. And so you can easily reach out to them. Oh, we met in London for this event. We're having this event in Nigeria. When would you be in Nigeria? I'll be in Nigeria XYZ. Well, can we fix the event at that time? So you have a wider range of So
that is
and
very
visibility,
true.
I think.
And visibility.
Because when you attend some of those things, sometimes you can do presentations. I remember the Chevening conference. I did a presentation there. And then after that, there was the TEDx IDS. And somebody reached out to me and said, Ejiro, you did so, you can do it. And that's how I did TEDx IDS. And I mean, very recently, I published an article with my supervisor.
That's good.
And it's from building, it's not just establishing those networks, but also knowing which to bring in to enhance your work, because that's the idea at the end of the day. And I mean, she puts just having that, she has put me on different UK platforms. To say, we're doing this thing, or Ejiro, this be on this platform and talk about sexuality and disability, and so that visibility, which is probably something that I may have worked 5-10 years to build, you get that in such a short time because you are networking and having those conversations in those spaces that you ordinarily would not.
Thank you very much. I think for me, maybe anybody that is connecting with you guys after now should definitely get to know the work that you did in your dissertation. David, myself, and yourself, we spoke briefly about this a short while ago, and I was really fascinated by the quality of research or that you've worked on as well. And Ejiro, that was an award winning. You won an award for that for your dissertation as well.
I produced a documentary
around
article.
Disability, women with disability, sexuality, and everything.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. Just one question, Ejiro. You spoke earlier and you said that there were some things that you did when you look at the A to Z, and then some things that you did not know. Now I want to ask this question because there are people who work in international education counseling, who run agencies, who are student counselors, who are representatives of universities. What would be your advice in terms of what you would have loved to know ahead of your resumption in the university that could have helped you better?
That's a good question. And maybe part of it is maybe from them, because I know I had attended the Sussex pre-departure event that was organized. And I guess maybe the expectation around the academic expectation is something that I didn't really, when you school in Nigeria, you're conditioned in a particular way, in terms of academics now. If I had somebody that, if I got a deeper understanding of the what was required, academically, not just, I'm going to do my master's, but actually how to a better understanding of the UK educational system as opposed to what I knew in Nigeria, I think I would have had a lot easier entry, because the first 3 months was I used to call that my certificate of blood and tears. Because God, I cried severally because I just felt like I was dull. I couldn't understand. But very quickly I joined study groups, so maybe agencies could, help students going abroad to kind of understand some of these systems that, or some of these support structures that are within the system that they can very quickly begin to latch on to ease that process. So I joined study groups somewhere along the line in IDS, and that kind of now helped, a whole lot. I started to speak more to my convener in school then as well, and that kind of helped to build my confidence. I finished with a distinction. So of course I wasn't so dull after all, but that's that difference. So I think that's one thing. The agencies, the agents, they do a lot, because I benefited from them, supporting me with my application process, the visa application. So that was quite seamless, and that's because an agency was supporting. But for counselors and all of these mentors, I think it's really preparing African students for the academic demands or the expectation. Critical thinking, because that's not something that we are wired to do as Nigerian or African students. You don't question your lecturer. You read to give him back. So my first shock was, I asked a question, the lecturer says, "What do you think?" And I'm like, so we need to get to that, get students to prep them in that way, like prepare your mind, begin to think critically. Don't just take materials and read and cram, but try and understand and now replicate it from your own lens. So I think that those are some of the strategies that can help students have a better experience academically. I'm focusing on academic because it was tough. For the other parts of exploring culture, all of those are things that you have to do as an individual, but again also to make people understand that contributes to your learning experience. It contributes to expanding your mind and the quality of education that you get out of, that system. Yeah.
Thank you, Ejiro. Before I ask my final question to both of you, David, do you want to add anything to this?
No, I think it's
perfectly excellent. So my last question and I want both of you to speak to it. I'll start with you, David, and then Ejiro can speak to it. Is if you're meeting yourself at the time that you're making the decision to study in the UK, what would be your advice to that younger self in terms of course choice, in terms of harnessing talent or accessing opportunities and preparing yourself for the future that you now live in? What would be your advice? So David first and then Ejiro.
I don't think I'll change a thing, to be very honest with you. I don't think I'll change a thing. Just go there, seek more opportunities. Figure out what your interests are. Look out for people who are already doing it. Volunteer to work with them.
Yeah.
And be open-minded.
Volunteer, open-minded.
Yeah.
Excellent. Ejiro.
My advice to my younger self would have been trust yourself more, because you have your value, the experiences that you have is also valuable in that system. And you are bringing your Nigerian perspective to the conversation, to whatever conversation that is being said. They don't have that. You have that. And that's the value that you're bringing to the table. So it's to be able to embrace that value and amplify it louder than I should have done. So that's kind of the advice that I think I'll give to myself. And as David said, I mean, I was adventurous. I don't think that so in terms of adventure, I did all that. Be out there, be intentional, be intentional about relationships, not for the now, but you're building them for the future, because they always come in handy. So don't just make friends with people because I just want to do it for the now, but really identify how this person fits into my future goals and sustain those relationships even after your time studying and all that.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much. I know I said that was my very last question, but there was something that Ejiro just said about sustaining relationships. And there are some times that you access opportunities, but you don't know how to sustain. And you guys have graduated now for a few years. If you can just give one final advice in terms of how to ensure that the opportunities that you are accessed or the people that you've met, you sustain those relationships or you build on those opportunities, what would be your final advice? I'll start with you, Ejiro, because you started that. And then.
So I think it's really identifying what are those values that they have, they can add to enhancing your work. Like I talked about my supervisor, this is 5 years down the line.
Yeah.
In 2024, 4 years after graduation, we were still able to, put together and publish an article. I sustained that relationship. That's the reason why. Now we're doing, consultancies together, applying for consultancies together. I have, friends that I have made. I'm in the process of writing a book, and some of the people that are offering me assistance are my friends in Sussex.
Yeah.
That I'm an editor. I work now. I'm big in journalism. I do this. I'm in that space. So it's identifying the areas that you have value to add to them and the value that they have, how to, establish those collaborations with them, and then constantly keeping in touch.
Yes.
So you're not just only asking, but you're also adding to them. I think that's one of the ways that we are able to sustain that.
Thank you. Finally, David.
Yeah. Control C, Control V.
Control C, Control V.
Exactly. She said it all.
Yeah.
She said it all.
I absolutely agree with that. I would definitely have just Control C and Control V myself because that was just really profound. Knowing what you have to offer and presenting that, ensuring that you're staying in touch and that you're not just, it's not about what you're going to gain from them, but really about what you're going to offer. Build the relationship. In fundraising, we say something that we build friends before we raise funds. We build friends, we make friends before we raise funds, So before you are able to say, I'm going to use the opportunity for this purpose, you have to build that relationship, keep that friendship. Thank you so much, both of you, for such brilliant perceptions and perspectives and knowledge that you've shared today. I've really, really had a nice time chatting with you. Thank you very much, Ejiro and David, for being here. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed it.
I sure did.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your for staying tuned, for staying attentive up until this moment. And like I just said, I really had a great time speaking to Ejiro and, of course, David on this topic around unlocking the hidden gems of international education. So this is just an advice and, a way of inspiring, young Africans who are seeking the opportunity to study abroad. Think about it, not just about the academic experience that you're going to have, but in terms of the cultural exposure that you're going to have, the people that you're going to meet. In this episode, we've talked about networking, we've talked about intentionality, we've talked about asking for help, we've talked about really ensuring ensuring that you discover yourself and that you volunteer for the opportunity. That's how you can really get things that work for you. And of course, knowing what makes you tick, and then all of these things can really support your career progression and what you want to do in the future. So this has been a really, really robust and exciting episode that I've had with my friends Ejiro and David. I hope you've enjoyed it just the way we have. We ask you to please like, comment, and share this podcast. Also, please subscribe. We also want you to subscribe and watch past episodes and future episodes of TINE Africa Podcast. We also want to hear from you. If you have any thoughts on what we can do better and how we can improve what you would like us to talk about, please feel free to send us an email in the email address showing on the screen right now. Till next time when I shall be coming again, my name is Louis Adekola. I'm the host of TINE Africa Podcast, the new sound of international education in Africa. Thank you and goodbye.